in the first place, and then using hashtags and being prepared ahead of time to make sure that we get the maximum shares, and just go over some best practices and some good logistics. And then we're going to just go through a few different examples of using this in the field. So we'll go over first an anatomy of a tweet. This is a tweet. This is what one way that a tweet looks like. There's a couple of different components that you can see here, including a handle, which is the @ sign, and then words with no punctuation. So letters or words with no punctuation, and that's the handle. That's what you go by on Twitter. I'm going to assume that a lot of you may already be on Twitter, but if not, there's some great basic trainings that are available on the One U Digital training series as well. And then a hashtag is the number sign, the pound sign, and then numbers or letters with no spaces in the middle. So then to go over some basic anatomy of a tweet and what is a tweet made up of, these are short statements that, and then one of the nice things about the way that handle is used here in this tweet is that you can see where this article is coming from, and then also there's a shortened link here, using a short link like a bit.ly, going to bit.ly and then entering in the link that you want to do that's longer, and then making that shorter allows you to fit more stuff in a tweet. Much of the challenge of Twitter is about trying to fit the maximum impact into a short space, and so being able to shorten those links can allow for more of the information that you want to convey. So here's a couple of other examples. One of these is from yesterday, and the Minnesota State Fed talking about a GeoTV message, and then again using a link that would then give people a chance to go back to what you want to share with them, but then using a hashtag there, this hashtag #Paul, that's something that's going to be a local hashtag that's going to oftentimes change based on the area where you're working. And it's nice to see what people are using generally, what people are using frequently, and then also if there's a need for a hashtag, making one up and encouraging people to use it. So that's some basics as to how a tweet goes together. But live tweeting itself is about stringing lots of tweets together in a moment in time. And here's a great example. The TV show Scandal has a large following of folks who will live tweet and who will put out tweets and comment on the show while the show is airing. So the show is kind enough to, their marketing department has some hashtags that they've put together and encourage people to use. And if I refer to an official hashtag through this training a little bit, that official hashtag can change a little bit depending on the situation. For a show, you're often going to have something that kind of is an official hashtag because someone will put that together when they're planning the show or another sort of commercial event. In comparison, if you're talking about an election where you may have a hashtag that everyone is using, that's something that you're probably going to want to put together on the ground or find people are already using. So one of the great things about live tweeting is it allows you to be the radio announcer. It allows you to do what folks who are announcing on TV or on the radio will do, and that's make you feel like you're already there. You're part of the action, not just seeing something, but being engaged in it and being able to learn about what's happening right now and how does this matter to me right now. So getting people in that conversation and making our important messaging, making sure that the narrative that we're trying to tell is part of the overall conversation is huge. So here's a couple of examples of what a difference a hashtag makes. This statement, "I can't believe this is happening," would make a totally different impact on Twitter than this following statement, "I can't believe this is happening," and then the hashtag scandal. if I said, I can't believe this is happening, that could mean any number of things, right? I mean, that could be a commentary on something that I'm doing at home. It could be a commentary on something in general or any current event in your area, whereas when you put that hashtag scandal in there, people know that you're talking about the TV show. And when they're watching that show right now, they'll also know that something remarkable happened that folks are folks are commenting on. So that makes a big difference. So here are some examples of some really effective use of hashtags that are Walmart. On Black Friday, using the hashtag Walmart Strikers, you're able to see lots of different people are able to share a lot of different information using this hashtag. So for example, sharing a pledge, a way people can take action, also pointing people out for some accounts to follow and some prominent supporters, and then being able to share data using that hashtag, letting people know what's happening about that, and then again sharing some op-eds. If you're working on a concerted action like on Black Friday, being able to get people to all using that same hashtag really allows us to kind of bring some order out of the chaos of Twitter. There's lots of different things happening in lots of different places at any given time on Twitter, and being able to have some consistent things in the form of hashtags that will pull people together and share. This is why we're all paying attention to this issue. That can be really helpful. One thing that I would recommend, if you're doing something like this activity here, whether it's your own personal email list or whether you want to send people messages on Twitter as well, but definitely let people know ahead of time who are interested in this, what the hashtag is, what people will be using, so that you can get more and more people on the same page there and really amplify those tweets. So here's another couple of great examples. Being able to share successes and then point back to the hashtag so people who've been following it kind of can see the results really helps to keep that dialogue going. Tagging is also a wonderful tactic. In addition to using hashtags, sometimes I think of Twitter as seeming a little bit like you're standing up and shouting in the bus station. And when you're in a crowded place and you're saying a lot of things, and there's lots of people who are saying a lot of things, many times people will start to tune out. Whereas tagging is kind of like you take somebody who you're trying to get to listen to you, and you touch them on the shoulder and say, okay, I'm talking to you. That's a similar thing to pointing somebody out, so they get a notification that you're tagging them, that you're directing this at them. And then also, if you're perhaps running a campaign against a corporation who's being greedy and you want to make sure that corporation sees what you're doing, tagging them again will allow them to see that, in fact, this is directed at them. It's also a great way, tagging is also a positive way to let folks know that you're engaging with them on their Twitter account, and let them know that if by including their handle in the tweet, you're then able to just let people know that, yes, indeed, you are talking with them. And this example was such a great example of rapid response as well. When you have folks who perhaps have their own agenda and who are speaking up on issues that are important to working people, getting folks to ask hard questions, this was a great example of it. Taking a moment in time where you have a mouthpiece for in a cause that's going to be negative, and then being able to mobilize people quickly to ask those questions. That Questions for Campbell hashtag was a really powerful campaign and a great example. And even just searching through that hashtag will give you a lot of activity and just see a lot of the different folks. I pulled just a small fraction of the really remarkable amount of tweets asking great questions for this example here. This is such a good point to rock the dot When you have a conversation on Twitter that starts with somebody's handle, that starts with just the @ sign and then that person's handle, the only people who are going to see that right away on Twitter or at all on Twitter are going to be the people who follow both of you. So if you're starting with someone's handle, you run the risk of really minimizing the folks who are going to see what you're putting out there. But if instead you start with a period or any other word, even something as simple as the word hey, or start with a word or of any kind, or just a dot is just fine, then more people will see that. Then all your followers, people who are searching for that hashtag, you'll have a lot more folks who are going to see that tweet. The whole point of live tweeting is to engage more folks in what you're talking about, and being able to do that will help you to amplify that rather than making it into a private conversation, which is what starting with the handle would do. So being prepared whenever you have an event where you want to do a lot of live tweeting, one of the places that I've run into this particular problem quite a bit, scouting the location, do you get cell service? A lot of times if you're in a large Capitol building, for example, sometimes the service can be a little bit spotty. And oftentimes you'll find that on one side of the room even, you get better service than others. So taking a few moments to go around, make sure that you've got a decent cell signal is well worth it. And if there's wireless available, just scouting that out ahead of time is often a very productive use of your time. Also, practice tweeting before you have to live tweet. Whenever it's, when you've got the pressure of being in the moment, it's certainly a much better time ahead of time to practice and go through and use the app on your phone. And then also create a list on Twitter, or if it's, you may also just want to kind of have a list on your own of folks who are going to be tweeting. That way you can see who you want to follow, but you can amplify their tweets, who else is going to be there on the ground, and then cannot emphasize enough how important charging your phone and how quickly a phone battery can get drained, and it seems to always happen when you need it to be working the most, which is a frustrating situation, especially when you've got a lot of folks who are all tweeting at once, you've got a lot of pictures, anything that you can do to scout out where you're going to be able to charge up your devices, making sure that you're fully set ahead of time, well worth it. The other thing is, in addition to lots of activists, lots of influencers on Twitter, many local reporters are on Twitter, if not most, and it gives you a great chance to not only engage reporters about what it is that you're tweeting about, but also to see what they're tweeting about. It gives you a nice chance to see how reporters are viewing the event that you're covering. And then think about, if you're looking, this is a sort of a corporate campaign, maybe you want to look up the business reporters in the area, whereas it may be that political reporters would be more interested, or education reporters. That's going to vary a little bit depending on what it is that you're tweeting about, but giving them a quick heads up that you'll be live tweeting, hey, so-and-so, a short email that there's going to be a lot of us talking about this hearing on Atticus bill or at this protest, and then people will all be using the hashtag such and such. Taking the time to do that can really help to amplify a lot of the activity that you're doing on the ground. So some things that make good live tweeting. You want to be able to show people kind of a portrait about what, between the photos that you show, the language, being able to kind of let people feel like, again, that they were there, part of the action, see the action. If there's some sort of remarkable action step, for example, making sure that people can feel like they're there in that moment. And then if people are if people are taking a rest, or if people are stepping up to join in solidarity, or if people are, giving some speeches with powerful quotes. Also, photos of your signs or banners. And one nice little tip, especially if sometimes you find yourself struggling a little bit as to, well, what do I tweet about an event? Pretty much any picket sign, anything that you put on a sign will probably fit in a tweet. And that can give you a nice opportunity to, again, have more folks exposed to what it is that you're trying to get them out, get the message, give more folks a chance to hear the narrative of the event that you're working on, and then also share your own emotions. Share, I'm excited about this. This is, I'm saddened to hear about this story of how this family was impacted by this issue. Sharing a little bit of yourself is a great way to, again, engage with your audience on Twitter while you're live tweeting these sorts of things. And can't emphasize enough how powerful those pictures are, letting people, again, feel like they're there. And those pictures and also video can be a great piece of that. Here's a good example of a scene description. Again, giving people a little bit of context. What do I see at this event? Give people a chance to, again, it's often really tough for a picture or two to convey the whole breadth of an event, whereas if you can kind of give a few things, I'm seeing lots of banners, I'm seeing lots of children, I'm seeing a beautiful day, or perhaps there's a snowstorm, or it's pouring down rain, and you've got all of these folks who are still out here for this issue. Those sorts of descriptive terms can be really powerful. Another thing, just to think of when you're live tweeting, what are some quotes? Now, if you're working on an event where perhaps you have some remarks ahead of time, you might want to break that up into some quotes that you can use and then be ready to tweet right away. Oftentimes when you're at an event and perhaps you're wearing multiple hats, the more things you can have ahead of time, the easier it's going to be to do them when you're running around trying to take care of a lot of different moving pieces. Another thing, just again, give them an update. Did a key speaker just take the stage? Did some important piece of this action happen? Is this a shareholders meeting, for example? Who do you see arriving? Is this meeting starting? Those sort of updates, again, give people a chance to feel like they're part of the action, that they're, a piece of the overall event that is happening. And then legislative issues can give a really good opportunity to live tweet. A lot of times you'll find that there are many important decisions being made in pieces of the process that aren't always fully accessible to the public. For example, there may be a hearing where if you're not one of the 50 people in that hearing room, you could miss a lot of the really powerful testimony and personal stories. So giving people a chance to hear from, in real time, what folks are doing, get a chance to have that, have those personal stories right there on their Twitter feed. And then, there are some opportunities to have some live streaming. I know some states will have various people who can listen to audio or watch video. And if there are such links, again, using live tweeting to share those links back so people know, yes, I can tune in, and here's how I can tune in. And then again, giving people a chance perhaps after a decision is being made, or when there's a chance to influence that person, if there's a petition to share, or here's the phone number to call. You're not just giving people some background information, but you're also giving them a chance to change the narrative, and that's a really powerful tool. So looking at some pictures, when you've got lots of folks who are out doing something, for example, and perhaps you have a response whether the response be from an authority or the response be from the crowd. Again, taking that moment in time and sharing that action and giving a little bit of context so you can let people know, and then also show them what's happening as it's happening. Here's a great example of asking people to participate. If you're there, send it, retweet this tweet if you're here at this rally. You're here in a crowd of hundreds or thousands of people or what have you, giving people a chance who are in that crowd to say, yes, I am here. And that's also going to help to expand the different folks who are also live tweeting, which can be really helpful. So again, those logistics questions that can trip you up every time. Even though best practices, absolutely charge your phone, look for a place, but if you know that you're going to be pushing your phone battery life, you've got a long event or you've got a day of action, scouting out ahead of time. I mean, if you've got a backup charger, your car charger, an external battery pack, a small investment of money can really help you to feel like you're not getting completely out of touch at a key moment in something that you've worked really hard to put together. So tweeting can move super fast. It is easy to end up getting tripped up by possibly autocomplete or typos, and also the tendency to want to just start with a handle and be done with it because we know who the target is. Those are good things to kind of look out for. And if you perhaps email yourself ahead of time or have a few tweets kind of set up and ready to go so that you'll know that if you have some longer things that you want to say or perhaps your quotes, you'll be able to do that much more easily and accurately. So some things about those photos. The more good photos that you have, the more people are going to want to share the photos and also who are going to want to follow you for future updates on these issues. They're going to see you as an expert on this situation and a good resource person to go to. It gives you a chance to let more people know about the great work that everyone is doing, and then to tell that story and how it fits into the overall narrative of either the campaign that you're working or the larger issues that you're dealing with. It gives you a chance to let people know some of the backstory, how did they get involved, and then also to listen to what people are saying about this. Checking out what people are also putting out about these events is a really helpful tool to be able to then evaluate kind of how people are reacting to these events. It's also a great way to help.
So, Fury, who's our voting rights?
Working as a team. That's a great way to again kind of build on that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you have perfect visuals right there. When you've got rally and there's a compelling visual narrative right there, just a picture or two saying, hey, look at this happening right now under the hashtag. It's a great way to just share the photo. But sometimes, you kind of got to say, hey, can you get the photo? Can you get the photo? You guys, take a minute and smile or whatever. It is nice to kind of take a look at what you want to get out there and then get folks together. Feel free to stash some empty chairs to the side or to ask people to kind of crowd together a little bit. If you're trying to share a lot of action, please make sure that your photos are also showing the action. And one of the great ways to do that is to figure out what small things you might want to do to make sure that your photos are going to be the most exciting and engaging.
I need like an hour to sit down with you and vomit all these things onto you.
I think there's a comment box. You can comment on it if you like. Some general thoughts on on this photo are things that you might want to
was mad at the scene Nicole
think
got,
about as you're tweeting, and if so, what
mad
it might be.
Nicole, but
It's just kind of interesting. If you
you
have any
still
comments,
have
feel
that photo,
free
you gotta
to
also, you
jot them down there, or you can include
that
the
was the past year, and I was like,
the digital hashtag. You can also have a conversation on Twitter as well. Another
basically she was like, you have to do your part if I'm going to do my part. Was like
great
essentially
to zoom in, fill the screen,
so like now I'm going to make this harder, you have to follow it.
so that the photo is going to be engaging and rather than a lot of
advocate for them for
space.
For
example,
actually I got a little bit mad at it because I
two
was like, oh,
similar but different
I really
pictures
made sure that I knew that was like a priority
really
over
do
the
give a
last year.
different impression. And lighting as well. Is the lighting in the room going to be conducive to what you want to show in your picture? So just a nice photo tips to remember. Again, live tweeting is all about people as if they're there, and when we're there in the moment, and there's lots of action going on. We want to be able to highlight that action, show all of the great stuff that folks have happening. And also, if things are happening that are not
how I draw
things that perhaps we had planned, or current events that are relevant, or even, again, a television show, being able to focus on what the action is. People are going to be interested in that and find that narrative.
And you've also told me that you couldn't take a meeting because you're taking a meeting.
So a few other things with video, of course, video is also
I like hear what they're saying. I've given you a lesson on social media, like I know down
feel like
sometimes
you're
comes
there,
for a lot more nuance, but like
and
two
a
things I'm
variety
like
of apps
over with
on
in
your
this like
phone
piece is like
that
one,
allow
if you and I like
have very short
want to run any
snippets,
kind of program, we're going to have to like kick and scream and push them into doing this, and we're not going to do it otherwise. So like we should talk about like whether or not we're just going to start being like, hey, bye, see you later, and like just not run an interesting program, and like whether that's like what people want to do. Because like to me that's like where we are. I don't know how to fucking get out there and again also like be that person running and also know that we're going it's not going to move forward in any way for anything that I ask them to do.
Again, it just gives you a chance to engage people quickly on something where they feel like they're there.
I mean, I just don't understand this. Like we talked about
YouTube is also a great app to have on your phone to be able to do that. And then make sure that, again, photos, show the action, tell the story, use your tweets, talk about how it fits into the overall narrative. Why does this issue matter? Give people a little bit of context about, here's why I'm sharing you this video, here's why this photo is happening, here's why we're having that rally. And going through the feed would give them a chance to, again, not just
probably
like
Quinton
but also feel like
sorry.
They are interested in seeing there. Let people know what action steps are going to be the next step in the future. Give people a reason to want to share this information. It gives people a chance to feel like this is something that they can then share with people who are interested in what they're doing, because we're broadening the conversation and we're able to give people more and more contact and more the chance to take action. So want to page 1 if you have questions to raise your hand. Also, be interested if there are folks who have done some live tweeting or are thinking about things that you're working on now that would be of interest to raise that broader conversation on Twitter.
Okay, everybody, so if you have a question, just press 1. If there are any questions, we will be happy to answer them. No one's yet, Cathy. It's all right if you're a little shy. You can also email us here at the AFL-CIO. I'm Jane Morales at AFL-CIO. I'm sure Cathy will make herself available to answer questions. There are also some of our, thank you as always, Cathy. There are some of our resources at aflcio.org/digital trainings where we go really in depth on a host of different Twitter things. So I encourage you to go check that out as well. But while we're here on the call, are there any folks who have questions? Press 1 if you have a question. No ones, Cathy.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And the other thing I would really encourage you, if you, the more familiar that you get with Twitter, the more it'll feel natural to include Twitter as you're conversing about things that matter to you. And one of the things that it can take a little bit of time ahead of time to figure out who else is going to be talking about this, and then figure out who else is talking about your issues. Those are really helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We encourage you to sign up for the rest of our 1U digital trainings. And, of course, go look at our archive full of videos from our last round of 1U digital trainings and all the 1U digital trainings this summer. And we'll be sending out a survey in the next couple of days. Definitely interested in your feedback, both on the awesome training that Cathy gave and on what you learned and how you're going to apply it to your work. So thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to email us, tweet using the 1U Digital hashtag, or give us a call. We're always around to help out. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.